It was so wonderful to hear that song that Caitlin wrote. It's such a gift whenever someone can express the thoughts and feelings that we have in music in a way that really speaks to my heart. Our next speaker is going to be Jake, and believe it or not, Jake was in my 5th grade and 6th grade classroom when I was a teacher, and now has joined our modern worship band here at Floris United Methodist Church. He is going to share with you his experience, particularly as someone in the LGBTQI community, and how it has felt as he's been listening to the dialogue around the Methodist Church as a whole and their decisions around what inclusivity should look like for us.
Hello, my name is Jacob Rizzo, and I'm a member of the Floris United Methodist Church Full Circle Band. I am also a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, and I want to tell you a little bit about my experience as a gay member of the church. I told my family I was queer when I was 14 as a freshman in high school, and while I understood that my sexuality made me different, I didn't fully grasp the gravity of what it meant to come out or the implications that it might have on me or my family that have been placed on us by society. Personally, I wasn't overly scared about telling the world how I identified because I had thought about it a lot and knew that I didn't want a part of myself to be trapped inside. My parents took it as well as they knew how to. They told me they loved me, asked me if I was sure about it, tried to tell me that it would be easier to not be gay, but ultimately that they would accept me and love me. It was hard to think about telling certain members of my extended family, like my grandmother. I assume my mom told her, or that she figured it out on her own eventually, but I never actually told her myself before she died, and I wish I had, because I know she still would have loved me. Same with my grandmother on my father's side. She's still living, but I've never explicitly told her. She's just figured it out from conversation, but I know that she still loves me. Growing up in the Catholic Church, it was hard to feel accepted in my own skin. I knew that the church would never see me as an equal if I showed my true self, and this drew me away from the church before we joined Floris United Methodist Church because it seemed extremely contradictory to the teachings of eternal love and God's grace. So when we joined the United Methodist Church, it was refreshing to feel as though I was going to be accepted by a larger portion of the congregation than in our old church. Then in 2018, when the United Methodist Conference ruled against the LGBT community, I was shocked. I immediately withdrew from the church mentally, even though Floris made it clear that they were still supportive of the LGBT community. But for some reason, it felt like the world had regressed from prior equality-related achievements. Looking back, it's clear to see that most of that was because Northern Virginia lives in a bit of its own bubble, somehow separate from the rest of the world. So I hadn't realized how much dissent among other United Methodist churches throughout the world there was regarding the issue of equality. I distanced myself from the church a little bit. I'm not really sure why, but it seemed like a sensitive topic. It was almost like a big cut that if you touched it or rubbed against it, or in this case, talked about it, it would just reopen and hurt even more, and I didn't want that. One place I stayed connected in the church through all of this was our worship band, Full Circle. In a smaller group like Full Circle, I'm more mentally ready to share about my sexuality, even if it's in a vulnerable state. Not in a way that flaunts it or exaggerates it, but in a way that normalizes things out of heteronormativity. Once, after sharing an anecdote about something where I mentioned my sexuality, one of the band members came up to me afterwards and thanked me for being willing to share and help further the safe space that has been established. It was a small gesture that they might not even remember doing, but it made me feel reassured and comfortable in that group. And I didn't have much time to think about what I was saying when I said it because it just kind of popped out. But I realized I was essentially going to out myself to this small group of people, and I went for it. And I thought this could kind of gauge the group's perspective on this issue. So after some time and reflection, I accepted that Floris doesn't represent the views of other parts of the church. And even though there were people that disagreed, I knew that what my beliefs were, and if Jesus is to love all, then he will love me, my partner, and everyone as equals. It wasn't always easy for me to remember this because in the moment, sometimes I'm more stressed about pressures from society or other things that are going on in my life and don't feel like being vulnerable enough to share. But through the community, my family, and sermons that I've heard from FUMC regarding Jesus' love being ever present, I was always able to find the courage to stay strong in who I am and where I am. Whether or not the whole church sees that and believes that is beyond my power, so I decide to carry on. but this has reinforced for me how fortunate I am to be a part of the welcoming and loving community that is Floris, and to have parents and sisters and family who love me and accept me as I am. So whether you're a member of the LGBT community, the parent or loved one of a member, an ally, or anything, if you put prejudices and preconceived notions aside, it is so much easier to remember that we're all the same on the inside, trying to get to the same place. My hope is that we will all find ways to spread love in our community and to those outside of it as well, like my family, friends, band members, and this church have done for me. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you all have a great Pride Month.